Hi, this is Vicki with VS Solar. I want to take a moment today and explain some of the marketing verbiage you may see. I see a lot of solar ads. Two of the things that I see a lot are no-cost solar or free solar. I'm never going to use the word free because even free time's not free. You're spending it somehow, right? Nothing really is free. No cost. I know a lot of people hear no cost and in their head that equates to free. So I kind of stay away from that verbiage too. But just to take a minute to explain why a lot of companies use that verbiage. What you're doing with solar is taking a bill you already pay. You already have to pay your utility bill, right? And you're turning it into a different bill that's less. So they're saying that it's no cost because there's nothing additionally going out of your pocket that you're not already spending on something else. So you're switching it from renting, essentially from the utility, to owning it. It's very much the difference between renting your house and owning your house. If you rent your house, right, you have no idea what your rent's going to be from month to month. I mean, you have some idea, but it can change, right? Because your landlord can change that. You can live in that house for 50 years and you never own it. You're just constantly paying. That's the utility. They can change it, right? We've seen that. With your mortgage, that's not going to change. You know what your payment's going to be month to month. You know what your term is. You know that when you're done paying it, you own that house and you don't have further expenses going out. That really is the difference between owning your power with solar and renting it with the utility. That's one of the things that I like most about it. I know my system is paid for at this point. I just don't have to pay PP&L. I'm paying myself back at this point, and I love that. I did also want to take a minute to kind of go through a couple different examples. So there's many different ways that you can go solar. The three primary ones are when you are going with third-party ownership, like a PPA or a lease, or when you finance it. And then the third is just buying it outright with cash. So a lot of programs are like, oh, no cost solar. Well, if you're buying it with cash, there's going to be a cost. You have to pay for that because it's cash, right? With financing, your payments don't start until your solar is installed. So there is nothing out of pocket. That's another marketing thing I see a lot too, which is true. If you're not paying for that system with cash, there is nothing out of pocket. You don't pay until that system is up. So it's not like you have this huge down payment that you have to save for. It's not there unless you just want to buy your system outright. But I do want to take a minute and go through a couple examples with you, how you can go solar and what that's going to look like from a financial basis, because I think that it is a lot more affordable. And a lot of my customers tell me this, that it's truly a lot more affordable than they thought it was going to be. And sometimes that holds people back from even getting a quote because they think it's going to cost a lot more than it actually does. So this example is just solar. This is a very, very good house for solar. Not everybody has a very good house for solar, so your numbers aren't always going to look exactly like this. If you live in a forest, I'm going to tell you maybe solar is not for you because they're solar panels, not shade panels, right? So this example, the person was paying $241, and this is an actual example of a customer that I sat with in PP&L, and this is at the new June 1st rate. So their monthly average bill is $241 a month. You get no profits with the utility, right? The utility is never going to be like, hey, here, take some money back. That's not a thing that happens. So their net payment is $241 and there really is no savings. That's just money out of your wallet that the utility gets and you're not getting that back. With solar, the bill for this particular system was $226 a month. They get $75 in profits and you're probably like, what's that about? So that's the monthly SREC profit. They're not necessarily paid out monthly, but I took what they would get in SRECs, the solar renewable energy certificates. It's a state incentive. I took what that averages for the year, or what the amount would be for the year, and averaged it out over the 12 different months. So that would average out to $75. So that net payment is $151 for a savings of $90 a month. So like I said, a lot more affordable than some people think that it is. This example, again, another actual example of the utility versus solar with solar and tree removal. I believe it was 2 trees that were being removed in this particular case. So their utility bill, again, this was PP&L at the June 1st rate. Their utility bill is $204 a month. No profits again with that utility, right? Net payment's going to be $204. There's no savings. It's just money flying on out of your wallet. With solar, their bill was $191. Their profits were $52.50 a month with the SRECs, and their net payment was $138.50. So that's $65.50 savings per month. Still a pretty healthy amount of savings, correct? And the last example is a roof and solar. So the utility payments were $138. I also want to note this is a very good house for solar. So the utility was $138 a month. No profits with that utility. The net's $138. With solar, their payments were $127 a month. Profits of $31 a month. Net payments of $96. So their savings is $42 a month. So even getting a new roof, because I know a lot of times people are like, well, what about if I have to replace my roof? If you have to replace your roof, there is a cost. Again, nothing is free. There's a cost to take those panels off and put them back on. Even if you meet with a company and they're like, oh, it's free if we do it. No, it's built into the cost of the roof or into the cost of the system initially, because we all know nothing's free. But you can replace that roof. It's going to be cheaper than if you replace it in 10 years. I had a customer that I sat with that their roof was going on 18 years old. They had a really large system, so it was a whole bunch of panels. And we priced it out and realized that it actually makes more sense for them to just replace their roof now. But we priced out what it would cost to take the panels off and put them back on for this very large system. And we priced out the roof, and we're like, honestly, if you just replace the roof now, you don't have to worry about those missing shingles. But for that customer, it made more sense to replace that roof now rather than wait 12 years. That's the very nice thing of being able to have a customizable system. We can either decide, yeah, we want to do the roof now, or you can decide, no, I'd rather do the roof later. Like, that's up to you. A lot of times when I sit with customers, they have some misconceptions about solar. A lot of people seem to think that the biggest savings from solar comes from overproduction and getting paid back by the utility. But that's actually almost the complete opposite of the truth. That overproduction, you're getting paid back at the price to compare, which right now, for some utilities, is extremely high. For a rough example, I had about 3,500 kilowatt hours of overproduction this year. And my paycheck back from PP&L was like $315 for the year. So that's not like a huge, monthly savings or even annual savings. It's a bit of a myth that the overproduction is what gets you your most savings. The thing that really gets you the most savings is net metering. So net metering basically means anything you're putting out onto the grid and you pull back in later, you're not getting charged for. That's really where the bulk of your savings is coming from. And I always warn my customers to make sure you're staying away from third-party energy companies. A lot of those third parties don't acknowledge net metering. So that takes away a lot of that savings that you're going to get with solar. And then if the customer doesn't realize that that's what the problem is, they're literally just hemorrhaging money and mad at their solar rep. And the issue is with that third-party generation company. So if you have solar, I stay away from third-party companies just because sometimes they'll tell you they acknowledge net metering and then you look at the bill and they don't. Another one of the nice savings that you get with solar is the solar renewable energy certificates, or SRECs, as I call them, often way too fast. And then people are like, what'd you call that again? But that is a nice thing that you get too for every 1,000 kilowatt hours you produce. And it doesn't matter if you produce it and immediately consume it. You're still getting that SREC. Right now in Pennsylvania, they're at $42 a piece, which could change depending on what day you're watching this video. But those are another nice savings that you're going to get that really is bigger and more important than overproduction. So while people sometimes are like, oh, you need to make that system way bigger, I want to overproduce, you're just pushing up the cost of the system and not really for that huge of a return. And you have to wait like a year to get that return. It's not like it happens sooner. A lot of utilities will only cash that out once a year. I know with PP&L, it's in May. With the other utilities, it differs when they pay it out. But that's a solar myth that isn't really going to give you the bulk of your savings. If you found this information helpful, I've got more in my free download, the top 3 things to know about the cost of a solar panel system.